Right, so you're welcome to another episode of the hot take right here on GH with Freak TV. I know it's been a long time since I actually recorded or uploaded any content on this channel, and I apologize to you guys, the subscribers, for um being a bit inconsistent. Well, not a bit, but being very inconsistent. But I do admit that this time it was for a very good reason. I had some personal issues that I needed to take care of, but hopefully we are back on track, and hopefully this time around I'm going to be a bit more consistent in putting out my hot takes, my trailer reactions, and also this conversation podcast. So please do subscribe to this channel if you already haven't. Um, I'll love to see more subscribers. I guess that would be sort of like you guys holding me accountable for putting this content out there, and yeah, hopefully we can grow this channel as quickly as we can. But let's just dive into today's hot take. Yes, this is actually a clip that I chanced on my social media feed from is it lunch break or coffee break with Harold on a show that airs on Aquaba Magic on DSTV. And let's just watch the clip, and I'll give my hot take as usual to
When
it.
you look at the Ghana film industry, where we are now, where we've come from,
Let me drink my tea.
please go ahead. What is that? What is that one thing that breaks your heart?
I feel it's kind of tricky.
So the guest on the show is Pascal Aka. Should I call him seasoned? He's a seasoned writer, director, actor, producer.
A lot of the actors that were blowing up during the golden era of our film industry, I would say the 2000s.
Yeah.
They saw the industry go down while they are not down. You know, some of them are doing other ventures, etc., and everything. You saw that the people, the industry, the house that made you who you are is getting rotten. But what are you doing to maintain it? What are you doing to renovate it to the next level? Not much. So they are the ones, they are the remnants of the golden era of our film industry. And now that you see this, the industry is not as big as it was, you're not doing anything. I see some of them doing extra things, some of them on TikTok, some of them, doing this and that. I'm not going to mention any names, but it's like,
But what do you think they should have done to help hold it?
no, I've done
This is a very good, like a very important question that Harold asked him.
about what it should be doing, what it should be doing. If you don't see a lot of projects coming up, you should be producing projects.
I think his response was spot on. This is something that personally I have spoken about a countless number of times in the Ghanaian film space. And I don't know if you really listened to the conversation, but I'm just going to play it again so that you listen to it properly, and then
When you
you
look
see
at
what I mean.
the Ghana film industry, where we are now, where we've come from,
Let me drink my tea.
please go ahead. What is that? What is that one thing that breaks your heart?
I feel it's kind of tricky. A lot of the actors that were blowing up during the golden era of our film industry, I would say the 2000s.
Yeah.
They saw the industry go down while they are not down. Some of them are doing other ventures, etc., and everything. You saw that the people, the industry, the house that made you who you are is getting rotten. But what are you doing to maintain it? What are you doing to renovate it to the next?
Undeniably, the 2000s was the golden era of the Ghanaian film industry. Everybody that has followed the industry, or even actively or passively, knows that the early 2000s, mid 2000s was the golden era for the Ghanaian film industry. It was the point where there were multiple productions coming out. There were times films could go as far as further back as even part 8 or part 10 even, and there was what many people consider as a very thriving Ghanaian film industry. And during that era, a lot of stars were made. I don't have to mention names. You can think of the names yourself. And we know the stars that came out from that era. And the question really, or the conversation here really, is what are these stars doing now? Especially when it looks like the industry has taken a nosedive. And that really is the conversation being had.
Not much. So they are the ones, they are the remnants of the golden era of our film industry. And now that you see this, the industry is not as big as it was, you're not doing anything. I see some of them doing extra things, some of them on TikTok, some of them, doing this and
I don't know about the TikTok part though, but
that. I'm not going to mention any names, but it's like,
What do you think they should have done to help hold
So
it?
that's
done,
this is the
but
question. What do you think they should have done, right?
what they should be doing, you know?
And I like his response. What they should be doing. It's not about, you know, I like to argue it this way. A lot of the solutions to our problems as an industry are not one-time fixes. They are not things that has to be done once and everything is solved. At least in my opinion, it doesn't feel that way. I feel like all the problems that we have with our industry, our film industry, the solutions to them are things that we need to be intentional and consistent about. Okay. There are things that would probably take years to get fixed, but it's something that we have to keep doing. So yeah, I do like the response he gave, that what should they be doing instead of what should they have done.
What they should be doing. If you don't see a lot of projects coming up, you should be producing projects.
That's it. That's basically it. You should be producing projects, and that really takes me to what my hot take is. I've been on several platforms and I've spoken about this, where and I know I'm going to catch some flack for reacting to this or sort of encouraging this conversation, but at this point I don't really care. I've said this before, okay? World over, you'd see that people who enter into the film industry usually start off like on screen, and on screen as in front of the camera, and then over the time you see them steadily grow or transition to positions or to also playing roles behind the camera, particularly producing. Okay, and that is really, anybody that understands the film industry and knows that the real work in the industry starts with producing or production. People that put themselves in a position to bring everybody to the table to make a film, right? And we've seen that world over, where every actor steadily or slowly is transitioning to where they want to become the one doing the hiring and not necessarily always being the one that's getting hired, right? And that is the conversation Pascal Aka is trying to bring to our attention over here. That especially in the golden era of the Ghanaian film industry, like I said, a lot of stars were made. You can think of them, the Majids, Jackie Apias, the John Dumelos, the Ajite Anands, all of them particularly, and the list is long actually. A lot of them became popular in the golden era of the Ghanaian film industry because at that time, the industry was doing well. A lot of films were coming out. They were getting attention. They were getting visibility. And most of them were able to leverage on that and branch into other aspects. Some are generally not just known as actors anymore. They are known as TV or radio personalities. They are known as celebrities in general, right? John Dumelo, for instance, branched into other forms of business. He did clothing line. He entered into agriculture, and now he's actually a minister of state, right? Or a deputy minister. Well, he became a member of parliament first, and then he got appointed as a deputy minister. And we've seen that. But the industry itself is struggling, okay? And anybody can argue that it's not the responsibility of these people or these actors that made a name for themselves in the golden era of the Ghanaian film industry. But it's true. They had a part to play, okay? They have a responsibility to also fight for the industry. I've seen several conversations in our industry happen where you'd expect that you'd hear the voices of certain people to help advance the conversation, and it's like they don't care. Crickets, right? It's like they are okay, or they are comfortable, or they've gotten to a point where they've branched into other forms of business that seem to be thriving for them, and they do not necessarily care about the industry's issues. And this affects the wider majority, you see. And Pascal Aka tried to narrow down on something all of us know as industry people: producing. We have to push that conversation where a lot of these big names also venture into that space where they are actively producing films as well. Because I think it would be easier for a big name like, again, I'm trying not to make this conversation. I can understand why Pascal would not want to mention names, because when you start to mention names, people feel like you're actually coming for them and they want to make it personal. But I would love to see a Jackie Appiah produced film. Okay. Not just because she's Jackie Appiah, but just also because she is Jackie Appiah. I would love to see the reach that she can have, like in terms of being a producer, right? I could name so many people. John Dumelo. The thing about John Dumelo, and I know again people are going to come for my head with this one. Personally, I felt that anytime there's been an industry conversation, I'm somebody that wants to hear what John Dumelo has to say about the industry, but a lot of the times you don't hear what he has nothing to say. A lot of the time it's like a very good example would be when the cinemas were closed for a very long time during the COVID, after the COVID pandemic, right? Cricket. And then the burden falls back on the people that have positioned themselves over the years as producers to be the ones to make noise, to be the ones to, again, after making noise, go and find money to come and hire these people who at this point feel like they are so big that they need to be paid more. And you see, the point here is that the entire industry, it's a cycle, right? Everything, it's an ecosystem more or less. Everything depends on the other to work. Okay. And it's important that we have this very necessary conversation to sort of bring the attention to what needs to be done or what needs to be consistently done over time. I would love to see some of these big names venture into the space of production. And let's not make this conversation as if, let's not have this conversation as if some are not doing it. Shout outs to someone like Yvonne Nelson. I doff my hat to Yvonne Nelson, particularly because she could have been an on-screen person. She was successful on screen. She could have been that person who doesn't care. But over the years, you've seen her battle all kinds of challenges and obstacles and produce, right? It's not always been perfect, but she's been consistent with it. She's provided jobs. She's introduced talents. She's advanced the conversation when it comes to our cinema culture. And we would want to see more names do it. I believe that there are several talents, several actors, again, going back to the golden era or people that made their name during that era, the 2000s, who have become very successful, that could have done or should be doing a lot more to help sustain the industry. But they are just relaxed. They are in that position where they're like, okay, me, I'm good. I have these other businesses going on for me. I love to act. If you want me to act for you, you have to pay me my worth and I will come and act for you. But they are not producing. Okay, here's the thing. For those who don't understand the whole idea of producing, it does not necessarily mean that they always have to put their money behind the production. Their name behind the production is enough, more than enough actually, because I'm sure a name like a John Dumelo could walk into any corporate and say, look, I'm going to produce a film, John Dumelo Productions or whatever, and corporates would be willing to sponsor or be willing to collaborate or partner with him just because of his name, as opposed to let me not mention any other producer, as opposed to a Tony Asankomah, right? As opposed to me that would go to corporate and say, so I want to produce a $500,000 film, but I have $200,000. Yeah, I have $200,000, and I need $300,000. The next thing they're going to ask me is, who are you again? You see? So this conversation is important. I really hope that we pay attention to this. And I hope that the people that this conversation is about also start to pay attention to this. Because world over, we've seen it. The transition has always been like being on screen to also being behind the screen or behind the camera, or being the one that was getting hired to being the one that is actually hiring. I'm not saying that every actor is going to be a successful producer. I'm not saying that that's the case. I'm only pointing out that we need to see more, right? We need to see more. Even if they are not going to produce, we need to see them being actively involved in the conversation. Okay, we need to hear the voices. It's easier for the known faces to advance conversation, the big names to advance conversation than a nobody like myself. That really is the argument. It's surprising to see even film events or film gatherings, and I'm not going to talk about I'm not even talking about the cinema summits and all of that. I'm talking about festivals, right? That happen here in Ghana where there's sort of like an energy that is supposed to inspire young creators to make films. You don't see the big names. You don't see the industry people showing up. They don't attach their presence. They don't grace us with their presence. They don't show up. They don't even they don't even say, okay, put my face or put my name on your proposal and go and look for a sponsor. Or I would accompany you to go have that sponsorship meeting. Right? They don't. And all of these things add to why the industry really is struggling, because it's not about just producing the films. Even if it's just about producing the films, how far can anybody really go if we are not being intentional about some of these things? How far can a Tony Asankomah production go, right? As compared to a Jackie Appiah production, as compared to a John Dumelo production. Again, I'm not making this personal about these two people, but I feel like these are the names I personally would love to see them produce. Personally, I would want to see how a Jackie Appiah production would look like, right? Well, because she has the pull, she has the muscle, right? She has the name, she has the brand, she has the identity, right? People can make the argument that she's behind certain films, but it's different when she is behind the film as maybe an unmentioned executive producer where she's putting money into the film. And it's a different conversation when it's her name on the film. Okay. I don't know. My hands are raised, but I think this is a very important conversation we need to have. I totally do agree with the stance that Pascal Aka took in this particular interview that you should go check out on DSTV, Aquaba Magic, Coffee Break with Harold. And I think it's a conversation that we really need to have, and have consistently and thoroughly. So yeah, that's my hot take on this. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section, and yeah, let me know what you think about what can be done by actors from the golden era to help revive and sustain and maintain the Ghanaian film industry. Like always, my name is Sonia Asankomah, and this is GH Movie Freaks Hot Take on GH Movie Freak TV. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.